Rob, I have a question for you, but I want to set it up so you can give me the answer that's appropriate. It's clear, not only with me, but many in our industry, how good you are.
Thank you.
How funny you are, and how talented you are. But this is what I find the most interesting, is that whether you're doing a dramatic character or whether you're doing a humorous character, you always approach it with a sense of humor. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I want to know who in your family or who you were brought up with that influenced you with comedy, because you're clearly genius with that.
Thank you. Well, thank you, and I would say the same about you.
We can talk about each other in the first person from now on.
Yes, I will say John. You know, I was influenced as a kid by watching the early Saturday Night Lives. I must have been about 11 or 12, 13-ish when they came out, and I was obsessed with that.
But the thing is, it's your timing.
Well, thanks.
With your sense of humor, because people have a sense of humor, but they don't always have a sense of timing.
Don't you think though that timing is it's like it's playing rhythm, you know? I think it's so like you're born with it or you're not. I think.
I agree with that. But was there any personal situation in your family that incited comedy as well, or did you purely get it from outside sources?
I think you're born with it. I mean, my mom and dad are certainly really articulate and
were they funny?
They were. I would say they were. What's the word? Non-professionally funny.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Fair enough. You
know, I mean, I didn't grow up in a house where comedy was really appreciated or a thing. It's one of the things, frankly, I think I discovered in those sort of lonely teenage years. I found that I liked comedy.
Yeah. Well, you're really good at it, and even in your portrayal in Behind the Candelabra, there's humor in that too.
Thank you.
And by the time you say Lee won't like it, when
they won't like it,
Matt wants to have a dimple, and you're warning him that it might be a problem.
He wanted your dimple, quite clearly.
Yeah, but it was so great, you know.
Thank you.
And The Grinder even proves that, because that character, my God, it's so original. But I think it's your take on it too, because only an actor would know what it's like to want to stay in character. Like, we all know that if you win at something, you get a little stuck in that win.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah, and your character got stuck in the win of playing a lawyer.
Totally.
So now, what's he going to do? And he goes back home to his hometown, and he is now suddenly pretending he's lawyer, but in a psychotic, hilarious way. It's so clever.
Thank you.
And so original. And but only someone with your timing could do that.
Oh, well, thank you. I also think it's that thing of to enjoy comedy, to appreciate it. Yes. I think you have to have a self-deprecating self-awareness. I mean, as actors, we know plenty of actors who have absolutely no, and the technical term is observing ego.
Right.
They cannot observe themselves in life.
Oh, I didn't mean to step on anyone's toes, buddy. If we hadn't just done an episode about it, I wouldn't even be chiming in.
Hang on, everybody. Timothy's just done an episode about it. Please, enlighten us.
I think to enjoy comedy, to appreciate it, certainly to play it, you have to have an ability to see yourself as you truly are, sort of warts and all. But yet we all know actors and people who have no, I think the technical term is observing ego. Mm-hmm. Like, they really can't see
the out points.
Yeah, and they can't see the bad parts of themselves. Yeah. The Grinder is predicated on playing the bad parts of being an actor, and the only way I can do that is see the bad parts of myself who is an actor.
Yeah, well, that's what works about it. And also the ads that you do for direct television are exemplary of that as well. And I watched they have on YouTube now the whole
I know, it's unbelievable.
But
millions
when you
and
see
millions
it
of views,
like all at once, that's pretty fabulous.
Was, for me, that was my sort of look at if I had ever made it onto Saturday Night Live, which would have been my dream. It really would have been my dream.
How many times have you done Saturday
I've done it 4 times.
Right.
And those were the characters I would have done. I would have
Yes.
skinny arms Rob. I would have creepy Rob. I'd have the guy who watches people swim at the pool Rob. That was my ability to show that I can do that.
Did you come up with any of those characters, or were they pre-written?
They're
hilarious.
Well, thank you. Some of them they came up with, and some of them I came up with.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. But I gotta say, I gotta shift to you, my good friend, because you are truly one of. I was just saying, there's no one like you. There's not one element of you, and there's so many elements of you, but if you just pick one element of you, there's nobody who has it. Nobody.
No, Rob,
and it's
thank
true.
you.
And from the very, very, very beginning, have been a fan, and your work speaks to the living of my life. I mean, I can remember my first love. Our first date was Grease. I can remember, the first time I watched a show that wasn't on a black and white television. My parents, it was a big moment. Was Welcome Back, Kotter. I can remember, getting into European film through Blow Up. I can remember going out and buying cowboy boots after Urban Cowboy.
Wow.
And on and on and on. And then as I became an actor, to watch you navigate the seasons that we are all going to have if we're lucky enough and talented enough to survive that's been the greatest inspiration for me, above and beyond your work, your ability to do that.
And I appreciate that, because unbeknownst to many, my purpose in life is to inspire other people. And if I inspired Rob Lowe to have the kind of career you're having, so be it, because that is what I intended to do, is to make people be excited and be alive about creating characters, creating music, dance, whatever they felt their passion was. I wanted to instill a bright light for them. OJ, wherever you are, for the sake of your children, for the sake of your family, please surrender immediately to any law enforcement official.
Acting to me is, there are just certain tools that you need in the toolbox. And one of the ones that you have that I love and I try to steal whenever I can, and I love that you mentioned Behind the Candelabra, because that is one where I knowingly stole from the Travolta toolbox, is you have no fear of taking a big swing.
That's true. As a matter of fact, if I don't take a big swing, or if I don't do something that is brave, I almost am more frightened of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it.
The bigger the challenge and the more distant a character is from who I am, the more excited I get and the more at ease I get. So it's almost a reversal of what people think. Oh, you're being brave, but the truth for me is I'm being much more brave if you ask me to play myself, because I don't know who I am.
I totally relate to that.
Do you? Because
it's freeing to play a character in quotes.
Yes.
And I think one of the reasons that we've always been so simpatico, although we've never worked together over the years, is I think we're character actors trapped in leading man bodies.
Completely. I've never overtly rejected the leading man concept, but I've always tried to twist leading men into characters, because I'm more comfortable playing a character than I am playing a standard. I mean, I don't even know what or who to compare that to, meaning what a classic leading man might be. I can't either.
It's funny, because the guys who were my heroes in terms of leading men growing up didn't do that, ironically. Like Redford didn't do it, Newman didn't do it. They were leading men, leading men, leading men. But when I got into that area of my life, I, like you, was drawn into, I mean, you look at Face Off, right, which is just an amazing movie, and you're amazing in it. I mean, what you're doing with that, when you're doing Nick and Nick's doing you, it's unbelievable. It's so great.
Well, that was. I actually asked Nick during the shooting. I said, "Do you think this is going to work?" And he said, "Well, yeah, I do. I do." You know, he was.
Can you just be Nick for the whole rest of this interview? Because I love that so much. It makes me so happy.
But it was tricky. But because John Woo was such a great director, and was so clever in the way he shot things. We really did get away with being each other by watching each other's dailies, by deciding collectively as partners what we would be. You know, I remember giving him ideas of how I would do it, and he would give me ideas of how he would do it.
Amazing.
And then we would perform for each other, get hysterical over the choices, and then go out and do them, you know.
Well, that's the thing, the joy. I mean, you're talking about the joy. I mean, I've worked with a lot of actors who I don't feel any joy from.
Yeah, and that's too bad.
But I get that you, like you said, you laughed your ass off. I mean, whenever I watch something that moves me, my imagining is that when they yell cut, those actors fall around.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the series that I did, the OJ series, there were times where Shapiro character was so, you know, unusual to me and my sensibilities that when a take was over, I would have to laugh, and so would the actors around me, you know.
And that's the most fun. When I do The Grinder, which opens every episode with a version of the Grinder TV show.
Yes.
Where I actually get to play, like, it's like being stuck on a horrendous hit primetime drama. And,
Exactly.
And it makes me laugh out loud because it's so real. It
And
feels like that
you
show
and I
could be
both
on
know
TV.
how painful it is for some people to be on for 10 years a drama that they're working 18 hours a day, and to be in that zone. What you've created was the reality of that
And the storytelling of, and that's when I realized that the president was an alien. Whatever it is, I mean, TV today, it's like a one-upsmanship of severed heads in the drawer at a commercial break. It's just everybody's working to top one another, and those poor actors that have to do it. My heart goes out to them. But you're Shapiro. I know Bob a little bit, and first of all, that's my favorite show on right now. It's sort of everything to me. It ticks so many boxes. It ticks the great actors who you love to see and want to see. It ticks the great performance boxes. You are doing an extraordinarily brave, again, big swing, which you just have a knack for. You have a knack for standing out in anything you're in a very, very way that's unique to you.
I mean, it's kind of humorous that we're being so simpatico, but I feel exactly the same way about you. I think we both have that in common, that we both like to do things that are out of the box, and we're personally entertained by that.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. No, it makes us laugh.
And I love what you said earlier, because it's the joy of creating that matters. It's the journey in what you're doing on the daily level. And of course, writers, when they give you gifts like I have on the series and like you have, you read it and you go, this is going to be an awesome day, you know, because you can't wait. When you can't wait to do a scene,
Totally.
then you know you're in high cotton. When you're busy fixing a scene, you know you're in the basement, because you have to turn something that doesn't quite work into something that is at least at minimally successful. The systematic railroading of O.J. Simpson by a racist LAPD because he is a black man.
Wait, what?
The LAPD history is a shameful history, and everybody knows it. It's no secret. There's nothing new to the idea that television is taking over in a certain area that movies recently left off.
Right.
And I personally believe that has to do with there's more freedom, interestingly enough, on television than there is in movies right now. You can do more, and so writers and directors are much more attracted to freedoms than they are barriers. And television offers us freedoms. So whether it's Mad Men or early on Oz, all these new TV, we're taking very bold and brave steps to the television viewing audience. And it's been an evolution and almost a crescendo of these great pieces of material that are on television. And you can ask any of the big powers in town, they all agree that television is doing the best stuff right now. So I knew that. I was enlightened by the magnitude that Ryan Murphy and Nina Jacobs and Brad Simpson were on the front lines of that. So when I was offered an interview with them regarding this, I did a lot of research, and they proposed this series, and I was scared of it, to be honest, because I never wanted it to be part of a guilty joy. That would not be my style at all.
Right.
And I wanted to make sure that there was other messages that we were doing here. And when I saw what they call the Bible, the complete concept of every show, I realized that they were very serious about communicating the truth of what went on, which often can be cathartic for people to experience. Oh, that's what really happened. Now I feel a little more understanding of the situation that the family was in, the legal system, the judicial system.
The context for what it was, because it was such a big moment culturally for everybody.
And things did have to be defined for us, and we had to be enlightened about what really happened. The Furman tapes alone were really, I mean, my God, those
the
are
glove.
so.
How does that happen?
Yeah, how did Shapiro try on a glove? You mean all those things were so interesting.
Because you can't imagine they
discover.
happen. Looking back, you actually go, wait, that didn't really happen, did it? And
Exactly.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
And one of the things that it does so well is puts the context in it. I mean, Ryan Murphy is a genius.
Absolutely.
He's an absolute genius.
And he's so clever, and he covers so much, and all the great directors, Robert Altman and Mike Nichols, and the ones that always keep a through line through a piece, where let's say Marcia Clark and Darden, you're at the same time you are communicating a race problem, you're also viewing race harmony with their having a love for each other.
Yeah.
So those through lines in the writing and the way it was directed are genius, because it uncovers every stone when you're watching, and I think those are what's so satisfying about it.
Quick Hollywood aside, and I'm sure you have 1,000 of these stories, but Ryan Murphy, his first show, Nip Tuck, I loved.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I would sit and watch it with my wife and go, why can't I find a part like that? What I should be playing one of those that doctor, Christian Troy. Christian Troy's me. That should be me. I should be playing it. Then The West Wing ended, and I asked to meet Ryan Murphy. I met Ryan Murphy. I sat down with him, and I went on for 15 minutes about Christian Troy and Nip Tuck, and it spoke to me, and that's the kind of role I want. I wanted to sit with you. Mm-hmm. And he's going paler and paler and paler as I'm talking. And I finish, and he goes, Rob, don't you know that I wrote that part for you? Wow. And it was never sent to me.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, how could this be? He goes, well, it's very simple. I was the 5th writer on whatever Midland show.
Right.
Because I wasn't Ryan Murphy yet.
Wow.
Isn't that a great? Isn't it sort
That's
of
a
great Hollywood story? What I
but
love
then you
about
made
it,
up for it by behind the camera. Yeah, because I mean that character was. If you had to trade, I would.
Yes, but it's to me, it's so interesting that an artist like I got the message.
Yeah,
I got the message anyway through watching it.
Yeah, that's wild.
So I'm so envious that you got to have your moment with Ryan.
My psychoanalyst has made me realize that I can sometimes be dramatic.
Well, that's the other thing about with long careers. I mean, what young actors, when I like to talk to them, and we talk about longevity, and I'm in my 4th decade of doing this. My first movie came out 33 years ago, a couple weeks ago, The Outsiders, and I never would have thought I would still be doing what I'm doing in the way I'm doing it. You're very much the same way. What do you think of the number? What are the things actors need to do to stay relevant throughout the course of decades in a business where it's very, very, very rare?
Well, you know, of course, every actor is an individual, and they have their own way of navigating through their career. So I could only tell you in a subjective perspective. I couldn't say, oh, this is how you do it, because it might be different even for you than it is for me. But I think if with your best efforts, if you always try to give a quality of work that is viable, at minimum, maximum, it doesn't matter. Just always strive for delivering your best and never do something for superficial reasons. Then you're going to survive for yourself and often for the audience, because the quality of the communication is always what's utmost important, how good that communication is. And I remember years ago, Warren Beatty, this was the early 80s, you know, and I was just maybe 6 years into the fame or something. And I said, Warren, what's your trick here? He said, always do good movies. And what someone could contradict that and say, well, how do you know it's a good movie? You only know it's a good movie to you when you make the decision, because everybody that has that feeling wants to make a good product. So at what you can guarantee is your integrity at the moment you decided to do something. You thought it would be good, and you followed through, and you did the same due diligence. For instance, the Shapiro character, there's no difference in the way I prepped for that character as I did the character with De Niro where I played the Serbian soldier. I did the same prep I built my character the same way I would do Pulp Fiction, the same way I would do Saturday Night Fever. I put my layers and I baked my cake the way I bake my cake, you know, and that can be from the outside in or from the inside out, or often a mix of both. Okay, so if you have an excitement and integrity about how you perform, you will always, at minimum, stay afloat on some level. It's when you start chipping away at things that you don't want to do or things that you didn't fight for. You know, I won't even go into the fights I've had for my most pristine moments in my career. I mean, because if I told you the fights and you'd say, really? That person made you fight for that when that was my favorite part of that character?
But see, I think this is really important, because the perception, one of my favorite phrases, I'm in recovery, been in recovery for over 25 years now. One of my favorite phrases in recovery is, never compare your insides to someone else's outsides.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
And so the sort of notion that John Travolta would have to fight for anything seems absurd on the outside, and yet it's the truth. And I think it's important for actors, particularly young actors, to know that it never ends. It doesn't. It never ends.
And once in a while you get a lucky break where people trust you. And that's usually with the higher end directors, where they say, I hired you because I trust your abilities, and they let you free.
Steven Soderbergh, Behind the Candelabra. I've never met him, never auditioned, never read, never shaken his hand on a red carpet. Don't know him from Adam.
Right.
Called me up, gave me this part. I said, I have an idea. It's pretty big. Are you like, how down are you
for this, my idea?
For this, he goes, I'm down, man. Wow me, do your thing. And I came in with that, and he loved it. But I think it's the more confident the director, and same in television.
Absolutely.
The more confident people are, the less control they exert.
I completely agree with that. With Ryan, I said to Ryan, I really want to look like Shapiro. I said, and if I can't, I'm going to have trouble doing this. And the reason was that I'm a very popular and familiar face. I did not want people for that to upstage the character. I said, if I can look enough like Shapiro, I know I can behave like him, because that's the fun part, is becoming that character. Yeah. But I need the eyebrows, I need the hair, I need the lips, I will add the expressions. I said, but if I don't have that, I cannot invite you to take this journey, because people do know, it's archival. They do know what he looks like and what he behaves like.
And they know what you look like.
And they know what I look like. I said, I need to make a difference.
What's that like for you as you've navigated your career, where you're so iconic and yet you make your living playing different people. How do you reconcile?
Well, that's the
that?
trick, though, is that you have to have directors that allow you, like in Pulp Fiction, to wear that silly haircut
Amazing.
with a big earring, and now it's little touches, but you're now going on that journey, you see. Let me shuffle, let me play the heroine high. He let me do these things that maybe another director would be scared of.
And I can't imagine the amount of times nobody will believe John Travolta in that. Like,
Right.
you're too famous.
Yeah. So
How many times do you get the "you're too famous" thing?
Well, what I'll get more is that we don't want to lose the value of having this very familiar face. And I say, well, you'll get,
Oh, that's a good one.
you see, and I say you get much more bang for your buck if you just let me be the actor and portray this character honestly.
Yeah, I get people saying, "We paid for those blue eyes. We want to see them."
That's my point. Well,
I'm like,
that's
but I'm playing a real character who had brown eyes. We don't care. We paid for the blue eyes.
there you go. And you have to fight that when it's necessary. If you're playing the kind of role that, in Get Shorty, he had to be elegant and good looking and suave, and okay, let's go for that. But if he didn't have to be that, I would want equally the amount of space to be not that.